Killer Kyle Rittenhouse stormed off the stage during an appearance at the University of Memphis on Wednesday to being confronted about comments made by Toilet Paper USA, Turning Point USA founder and president Charlie Kirk. Rittenhouse was invited by the college's TP USA chapter to speak at the campus for some reason. Maybe they couldn't find anyone else to speak, anyone better, conservative academic, economist, anything? Anyone? Bueller? I don't know why anybody should care about anything that Kyle Rittenhouse has to say, because he is literally famous for killing people. 2 people. That's not something to be proud of. That's not really something to celebrate. It's not really something to be famous for. If I were Kyle, imagine that, right? That part of my life would be something that I would not, want to be anywhere near. I would want to get away from that as much as possible and be like, I regret having to do this. I regret having to do this. I regret having to defend myself, right? I regret everything. Instead, no, leans right into it. If I were Kyle, I'd also want to stay away from any right-wingers, but obviously that's not the direction that he went. He cozied up to them because they deified him. He cozied up to the racists, and look, this is what happens. This is what happens when you do that. You get called out.
Okay, I'll answer the question of racist things he said. He says we shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth. We shouldn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. We should be working those days. It's called Ketanji Brown Jackson, an affirmative action hire. He's talked nonsense about George Floyd. And he said he'd be scared if a black pilot was on a plane.
I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Does that not seem racist?
I don't know anything about that.
They answer no. Does that seem racist? Is a yes or no question, Kyle?
Well, after all the things I just told you, would you consider that hate speech?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Deflection! 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 Yeah! Fuck yeah!
That was a pretty simple question, Kyle. Does that seem racist? The answer is yes. That is the correct answer. Okay. Look, the reality is that because of racism, black people actually end up having to work twice as hard as white people to get into those positions, right? They have to overachieve just to get the same opportunities because of all the assumptions of black people, okay, against them. Conservatives scream, you're just nothing but a DEI hire, affirmative action hire. Your achievements are only because they were taken from a white person. Well, what kind of message does that send, right? It says that no matter what, you're never going to be good enough. Now, they say conservatives say, well, you just have to get rid of DEI then everything will be fair, right? You'll get the best people. No, that's actually not true at all. The reason that you had affirmative action in DEI is because qualified black people were not getting into those positions because of racism. In fact, look, here's the thing. Research has found that diverse teams are actually more likely to outperform their less diverse counterparts. Why is that? It's because they bring a wider range of perspectives and experiences, as well as different ways of thinking to the table. Yeah, it turns out diversity, kind of a strength. Not only that, but companies that do DEI actually have less employee turnover. And by the way, employee turnover is incredibly costly because you have to find new people to replace them, retrain them, etc. And when you have that revolving door of having to continuously hire and train new people and lose top talent that might be able to do the job more efficiently, that increases your costs. Now, if you have less turnover, obviously you're going to have higher profits. Research has also shown that organizations with diverse teams are 33% more likely to outperform their rivals in profitability. The reason companies are doing DEI isn't because they're all of a sudden woke, right? That's not what it's about, okay? The wokers. They're not all the wokers. No, they do it because it makes business sense. It helps profitability. It increases shareholder returns. That is the reason that companies do anything these days, okay? Now, that said, the reason that Charlie Kirk hates DEI is because he's racist.
The Republican Party's racist.
That's pretty much it. Look, Charlie Kirk, He's like a college dropout that just got a ton of money from right-wingers. That's it. Now, Kirk also attacked the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, saying MLK Jr. was awful. He's not a good person. He said one good thing he actually didn't believe. Here's the thing, right? He's wrong. MLK Jr. was murdered for trying to organize black and white working class people to fight against their exploitation. He was fighting for white people just as much as he was fighting for black people. He correctly pointed out that having equality at the lunch counter means nothing if you can't afford a hamburger. Okay? Basically, what he wanted to do, his entire plan was to raise up a multiracial working class coalition to challenge the powers that be, who happen to use racism to keep black people down and to divide the working class in order for them to stay up on higher on the economic pile. Because when you tell a working class person who's not doing very well, a working class white person, hey, you might have it bad, but that black person has it worse, some of those white people, that actually makes them feel better. Oh, well, at least I'm not as bad off as that guy. So much of racism is rooted in capitalism. Now, it's no surprise that, again, Charlie Kirk, who was funded by some very, very wealthy people who want to stay wealthy by keeping others down, hates MLK Jr. and hates anything that is meant to extend the ladder of economic opportunity to historically disadvantaged peoples. Now, getting back to Killer Kyle, or should I say, at this point, Cowardly Kyle, who seemed to have not been able to handle questions. Following his hasty exit, he posted a video saying, quote unquote, "We made it back safely." What, as if he was in any real danger? Oh, somebody asked me a question I don't like. Asked me to defend Charlie Kirk's racism. Oh, couldn't do that. Later on, he said, oh, this was a great event. And then went after the media. He said, I think it's funny that a lot of the media is saying we got booed off stage. In reality, we did a hard cutoff time and just happened to leave it that. Great event. Interesting people, to say the least. No, man, it was a hard cutoff. It just happened to happen at the time that somebody was asking me to defend Charlie Kirk and his racism. I thought from the video that you wanted to have a little bit of dialogue about what racist things Charlie Kirk said. And when that young man, and I don't know his name, sorry, or a Twitter account or anything like that, if he still has one, or has one at all, when he actually pointed out, hey, these are the things that Charlie Kirk has said that are pretty racist. I don't know nothing about that. I gotta get out of here. Run away. What happened? You suddenly remembered that you had to leave?
Really?
Not buying it. Not buying it. Look, Kyle Rittenhouse has shown over and over again that he is a man who scares very easily. Okay? And it's a really good thing that he wasn't armed. Because, you know, when he happens to get scared, people happen to get shot. Which makes me have to ask, is this your hero, conservatives? Is that your hero?